So I'm in the process of removing the dash. All along underneath there are a whole bunch of Phillips head screws. Some of the knobs you just turn them counterclockwise and they unthread. Some of them do not because they're designed to turn counterclockwise or clockwise. So I'm going to have to read up on how to get those out. The reason why I'm doing this, that crack, and that crack. I could buy a reproduction super high quality one for $300 from Wolfsburg West. I could also buy an MP part number 4435, which is basically cheap urethane plastic, no steel reinforcement. Doesn't look quite as good as the original, for like 100, 150, somewhere in there. Instead, I've read up on using basically a special plastic bonder from Permatex. It's like a two-part epoxy and Plasti-Dip. So that is what I'm going to try, because that investment was 20 bucks. 20 bucks and labor. I've seen some guys do this on Porsches and others, and they look pretty good. So I'm going to give it a shot. So this is what was recommended to me. So I'm going to take this lovely piece, fix those few scratches, and then give it a good coat of Plasti-Dip, probably with the roller for some texture. Call it good. This stuff stinks, but it looks pretty good. Obviously I've put on too much. I'm going to sand a bit of it back. I just used a toothpick to mix, but also then to get it down into the cracks nice and deep. I'm not looking for a Concord restoration on this, but if I can fill those gaps and then give it the Plasti-Dip coat, I think I will end up with something that I like. So I also plan on mounting a speaker in there, and I'm going to run Bluetooth off my phone. Got to get a delete plate of some kind there, because that's just a giant gaping hole that I've got to fill. So we'll see how it goes. Going to use the air sander here. Hardened up pretty quick, so I'm going to give it a scuff and just try to smooth it out with the top of the rest of the dash pad. So I sanded through a little bit of the actual original vinyl, because if you think of the crack, it's a split, but it also means this lip has come up and this lip has come up. So just trying to give that a little bit more smooth of a texture. You can see some of the brown foam underneath there, and even then this bit is still a teeny bit high. I don't want to go too much more down into that. This one, got to sand a little bit more off the front, smooth that out, and then this one's same thing. But it is working. At least it's filling the joint. So this is what I'm using, Plasti-Dip. You can see there on the label, it's what you could dip a pair of pliers into and you get rubber grip handles. So this was recommended again on the Porsche 911 forums. They've got a lot of similar materials in terms of this sort of vinyl plastic padded dash. So I'm going to be setting this thing up on some homemade spike strips. This is what I do. Piece of cheap plywood, a couple screws through it. Set one end on this end, one end on the other end, and it'll hold it up so that as it drips dry, I don't have to worry about it sticking. I will be doing multiple coats, putting it on thin with a brush and or a roller. I'm going to see what works best. I'm going to start down on the bottom, so as I figure out what doesn't work and what does, I will hopefully make the mistakes on the parts that only my kneecaps would see. So, alright, I'll bring you back when I've got a coat on. Well, so far so interesting. Some areas looking better than others. This is just one thin brushed on coat. It does say to apply it thick, But what I'm doing is trying to do it thin, or at least thinner, so that I can keep some of the original grain texture. What I may end up doing instead, if some of these areas aren't looking great right now, if I don't like the overall results, missed an area, gotta come back and get that. If I don't like the overall results, I will roll it on. I have a small roller here that I can use that will perhaps bring back a little bit of that texture. Worst case scenario, I'm out 20 bucks. All finished, and it's looking pretty good, I think. Really settles down nicely so that it sort of through self-leveling reveals most of the original texture, which is nice. Now all I got to do is reinstall it. Look on the upside here, look on the top side, and we've got obvious repairs. That's more on me and probably some shrinkage of the epoxy, but you know, it looks a lot better than it did, and when it's tucked in against the window it won't be terribly noticeable, I don't think. Certainly looks better. So dash pads installed. I'm looking pretty good, if I do say so myself. That plastic worked pretty well. That 2-part plastic epoxy, you know, it's a little bit smooth, and then there's a little bit of a crack and you can kind of see it, but imagine, you know, window here, you're only going to see so much, but it just looks a lot fresher, a lot cleaner, and I'm pretty happy with that. So again, 20 bucks or so instead of 300. That's a deal for me. Alright, thanks for watching, guys. Give me a thumbs up. You know, leave a comment, subscribe if you like. I'm trying to put videos out about every 10 days to 2 weeks. I'm hoping to go to episode 50 on this project before I start moving on to others. So, thanks for joining me.